Alright, it appears that I'm making a video, so I'm going to play a little bit of this stupid holiday video. Yes, I paraphrase it as stupid. Yes, I describe it as such. It's well defined as stupid, in my opinion. Alright, so the first part of it's some gripe about rhetoric. What kind of vitriol or what kind of emphasis I place on certain character defects, certain behaviors that are clearly indications of incredibility. They just scream to the credibility of somebody else's arguments or the pointfulness, the purposefulness of even possible conversation with somebody who is willing to break the rules of conversation, which are you have to establish certain premises, certain objectives, and the objective is to describe the truth, and they are belligerently hostile to doing anything honest. And so their dishonesty is rampant. It's displayed right in front of you, and yet they are pretending that they deserve something called respect for their conversation, and their conversation can't be given any respect because it's just such a colossal waste of time. And so why shouldn't somebody be horribly offended that somebody else thinks they have a right to waste their time? I think the rational reaction is hostility. It is the worst of human vices. Liars. They just suck. I mean, it's the most underappreciated crime against human dignity, is to have some asshole lie to you. Just a fact. All right. And it's so clear, and he gets away with it, and that's disgusting, and it should irritate people who give a fuck about the thing called the truth and how you get to it. And apparently you're not one of those people. Okay, I am one of those people. I care about the truth, and I don't like violators, rapists of the truth, and that's all Piro is. He's just trying to find a way to fuck the truth. And clearly you have a sympathy with him because that's what you're doing. I mean, I don't want to get into this philosophical subject, but this inane nonsense that you can negate the existence of conscious sensation and say, oh, it just doesn't matter. You could just torture everybody on Earth. You could molest every child, torture every human being, and it just doesn't matter. No crime committed. Freddy in Freddy's Nightmare, if he really existed, he'd be super swell. Keep doing what you're doing, Freddy. You're right on the right track. Yeah, you're doing a swell job. I mean, it's so irrational. It is so insensibly stupid. And even if there was some tiny possibility that you're right, the huge possibility that you're completely wrong, okay, should be enough of an inhibitor to say, well, even if I tend to think that might be possible, the fact that if I'm wrong, I'm defending holocausts, I'm defending something catastrophically, hugely wrong. You're melting a nuclear plant down. I mean, you're doing something. Your failure will be so catastrophic if you're wrong. And to think you are right and be so belligerent in your sense of rightness on a subject where if you are wrong, you're throwing victims, okay, real victims on the fire. You're really torturing, okay? That's the real implication, the real consequence. And again, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to have this conversation with a fucking psychopath and not get insanely irritated? I mean, he's defending child molesting serial killers. He's basically telling them it's okay to be a child molesting serial killer because, yeah, there's no real harm here. You can't do anything wrong on Earth. It's not possible to live a bad life. It's not possible. I mean, you could violate some social code. Oh, yeah, well, that doesn't matter because that's even more, okay, detached from reality. That's even more abstract than your consciousness is. So, I mean, what a pile of fucking shit. And I'm supposed to sit there and eat that? You put that in front of me and I'm supposed to do something other than try to barf in your face?
And so my videos are long, trying to tend with all the details that I saw that need tending, and then somebody like in Mendham doesn't care to extract those details that I'm tending to.
No, he's just what a liar. So it's just fucking bullshit, right? I'm not tending to the details. I account for your perception. I'm explaining why your perception is absolute nonsense. I've drawn you pictures of it. I've tried to explain to you that calling it an illusion is just bullshit in the sense that it has a physical correlation. The fact of the matter is, when you feel a sensation, there's a certain pattern of electricity traveling through a certain pattern of neurons, and that pattern, no matter how I duplicate it, will always create that sensation. And it's just a fact that that's a pattern. It's a thing that actually, it's a physical event that actually takes place that creates this thing called the illusion of a sensation. Well, it's a real thing then, because it has a real physical cause. I've taken account of your rubbishy, fucking idiotic, inane, escapist philosophy. I've gone to great lengths to point out, just look at how obvious it is. Oh yes, it's just so convenient that I just happen to have a philosophy that allows me not to give a shit about anybody else but me. Gee, isn't that convenient?
And that those details that I'm advancing and sufficiently deal with them. He thinks that his video interruptions is dealing with.
So again, more of this crap about the fact, play my videos, please, go ahead, play my videos and interrupt, please, 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 because it'll be right in front of everybody if you missed the fucking point, or if you didn't take into account that 5 minutes ago I already explained what my definition of the word was, or that 5 minutes later I'm going to give you a whole much more elaborate explanation. So go ahead, please, play my videos, interrupt all the fuck you like. And the funny irony is when people play my videos, I watch it and they sit there and let my video play for like 3 or 4 minutes, because guess what? They have no answer. They have no counter argument. Okay, what I say is so coherent and so perfectly stated that they can't possibly make an argument, so they just let it keep piling up. They just let it all go by because I don't have any answer to that. That's a goddamn rock solid statement he just made. All right, the fact is all your shit is so full of duplicity and hypocrisy that it can be pointed out almost every 17 words you're going to be duplicitous and hypocritical. And so it's really easy to point it out. There's another instance of hypocrisy. There's another instance of just plain denial. I just made up new rules. Okay, yeah, I just decided that, there is no sensation. Okay, it's just some sort of knee-jerk. Well, no, it isn't. The jerk has to go through a whole process of, first we have to have fear and trepidation and inhibition. We go through a bunch of cycling where we think about it and we say, well, I'm going to go walk on a tightrope now. What are the implications? Oh, there's a bunch of swords I'm going to fall on and blah, blah, blah. And how much am I getting paid? 3 pieces of cheese? Oh, fuck this. Yeah, that's a logical process, jackass.
With them. When the video interruptions are more about him.
More bullshit. No, it's more about your fucking catastrophically failed logic, and I'm going to keep pointing it out. So as soon as you do something, again, as soon as you start changing the definition or changing the goalpost or, and say something that's just plain wrong, and I'll point it out in this video, you just said something just plain wrong. I'm not doing it for my convenience. I'm doing it to say, hey, there, he just violated the rules of evidence again. He just claimed there's a piece of evidence that doesn't exist. I'm going to keep pointing it out. That's my job. I actually think they should do that in a courtroom. I think they should actually, the one side, actually, when there's closing arguments, they should actually play a video of the other guy's closing argument, and they should point out how, you see what he just told you? That's a pile of crap.
And his expression of anger and vitriol.
Yes, well, my expression of anger and vitriol is because I'm having this inane conversation with people about a subject like science, and they have no respect for what science is supposed to be, which is an honest investigation of the truth. It's not supposed to be a lawyer for the religious kook and lawyer for the phantasmagorical show up and try to defend their guilty clients, okay? That's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be cheating. Lawyers, in the first place, are supposed to be defending the truth. That's supposed to be their objective. They're not supposed to be representing a criminal. They're supposed to be representing the truth. They're supposed to be protecting the truth from an illegal or a reckless or a sloppy prosecution. They're supposed to be the balance to the prosecutor's lies. They're not supposed to be a defender of the fucking criminal's lies. They're not supposed to commit crimes in the courtroom.
As in case in point, where he's just spewing anger again at Pyro.
Again, for a reason that is totally legitimate. Piro's calling me a flat earther and a liar, right? Because I don't accept evidence that doesn't exist. He's saying I must accept the Shroud of Turin as proof of Jesus' existence. He is obligating me to accept nothing. He's saying he provided evidence. I showed how his evidence was a piece of crap. It was a fraud. It was a criminal offense against the scientific method. He overtly violated the scientific method and argued that somehow this was legitimate evidence. It clearly wasn't illegitimate evidence. It's clearly a violation of the scientific method, and here you are defending it. And I'm supposed to be something other than revolted? I find it revolting that you can sit here and pretend you're doing something intellectual when you're defending a fucking liar. A fucking disgusting liar.
And for what point? There is not.
Yeah, the point is he is lying. He's presenting false evidence in a trial, and that's not a crime. Oh, he's trying to convict somebody with fake evidence, and you don't see any crime. This is why I say you're a dishonest cop. Any idiot can do this. I mean, like I said, I can get a 6th grade class. If you're telling me that if we had a 6th grade class and I sit there and show them the video of Piro for 5 years pretending there's evidence that doesn't exist, and then he's insulting people's intelligence by obligating them to acknowledge the existence of the non-existent evidence, then he'll, like I said, he did this with the paramecium thing. He said there's all kinds of experiments that prove they're learning, right? No, you could find the analysis on a simple Google search. You could find out that, oh no, they're not really learning because parameciums reproduce every, 3 minutes. They're evolving. So all you're doing is showing that you can evolve parameciums to turn left. There's no learning involved. None of the parameciums learn and then duplicate the behavior. They have children that duplicate the behavior. It's an evolution experiment. It's not a frickin' learning experiment. So that was obvious. That was right there. Yet he'll keep claiming there's evidence that parameciums learn. He'll keep saying it's true when it's not fucking true. And you don't find that obnoxious, belligerently insulting the method, the scientific method, and deliberately insulting my intelligence, but lying to me.
No point to all these superfluous statements.
Yes, there is a point. If you don't get the point of identifying criminals, okay? I mean, for years they used to put tattoos on criminals and they make them wear scarlet letters and do all kinds of things. And so in my opinion, that sort of made sense. Why not label criminals? Why not label people who have violated people in the past? They should have a fucking mark on them. All right? That should be the price you pay for being an asshole, is that you have the big A on you. Asshole. He's a fucking known violator. All right? It should be recognized. Every time he opens his fucking mouth, everybody has to know, oh, this is the guy who perpetually lies with fake evidence.
About what a liar you are. Not just what a liar you are, what a despicable liar you are. Not just what a despicable liar you are.
Yeah, well, I'll keep emphasizing the word over and over, and I'll emphasize it even more. You want me to make total monuments to the subject because assholes like you keep denying it's happening. So what, I have to make a mega monster pyramid with the word lie on it before you get the concept? Apparently you can't get the concept that, well, if you support liars, then you'll have more liars. So what do you do to stop something from happening? Well, I guess you have to discourage it somehow. And you don't discourage it by sharing your cupcake with the liar. Fuck! This isn't complicated, dumbass.
How clearly you are lying. How aggressively you are lying.
Oh, well, again, when you do it for 5 fucking years and somebody pleads with you to show the evidence that you're lying about, okay, and they don't do it, what else can you call that? I mean, again, if somebody gets into a conversation with him about parameciums, how much you want to bet? You want to have a bet, a little gentleman's bet? that he'll again point out that there's experiments demonstrating that parameciums learn when there is no such fucking experiment.
How belligerently you are lying. He will say all those things in the same video. And to what purpose?
To re-emphasize until there's acknowledgement. So yes, some things I'm going to say over and over and over again because they're stone cold hard facts and there's no conversation outside the realm of those facts being acknowledged. So in my opinion, there's absolutely no reason for me to bend my definitions of reality to meet Freddy Krueger's, and there's no reason for me to bend my conversation to settle with Piro or Piro Trump, Trump 2, or whatever you want to call him. I mean, a compulsive liar.
It has no purpose other than being about him and his...
Yeah, so more horseshit. So, he has too many ad hominem attacks, so I'm going to give him an ad hominem attack made out of this bullshit. That somehow he's not allowed to have integrity. He's not allowed to be profoundly offended. He's not allowed to say there's no point in having conversation with people who have this little respect for coherent... conservational vocabulary. They can just keep popping new words in and new concepts and just keep playing with these words. Oh, it's a wave, except it doesn't have any of the properties of a wave, but I'm going to use the word wave anyway. Electrons have a fucking wavelength, even though they don't.
Need to then, and he knows his faults in these regards. So
No. It's none of this. There's no he knows his faults. No, that's just horseshit. Yeah, the faults I've described are, sometimes I'm, I go too far, this or the other thing. But in these two circumstances, there's no going too far. I've gone too short. You're a fucking psycho killer, okay? Plainly. You've made a rationalization that says it's okay for you to love your dog, but it's okay for you to eat the pig. It's irrational garbage as a philosophy. It's just insensibly stupid, and it's also maliciously harmful. Alright, so yeah, there's no reason for me to be at all temperate in my despise of you, you disgusting fucking duplicitous hypocrite. No reason whatsoever to give a fucking shit if I offend you in some fucking way. I wish you die boiling, slowly boiling to death in somebody's fucking cooking pot, you fucking goddamn pig.
I generally try to avoid, he might pick up on this if he watches it, but I try to avoid that now because...
Who cares? Why would I want to imitate your behavior when I find you despisable? Yes, of course I'm not going to bother. And clearly, I've only been doing this for 10 years, and frankly, I've been the most consistent object on all of YouTube. I mean, I am exactly pretty much the same fucker I was 10 years ago. So obviously this dog doesn't learn new tricks. And I guess another thing that might be obvious is no matter how much I say I wish I was this or I wish I was that, I guess I don't wish it very fucking hard because I don't fucking change. As I just fucking demonstrated by saying fucking again. Way too many times. It'd be nice if I didn't just say what a dumb fucker, when I could just say, what a big fat poopy head.
I don't see the point or purpose of getting into that situation.
Who cares? Oh, jeez, just ask me how much I give a fuck.
With him. Right, so...
Alright, now on to the physics part. So sorry, conversation about philosophy on this channel will not be appreciated. So if you have something to say, go to the Amendum channel and comment there, where I can ignore it more appropriately.
I made a note that
this is just advocacy, frankly. I mean, that's all we really are, is lawyers in defense of something, right? And your client is supposed to be the truth. That's what we're here to defend. We're all saying, I'm defending the truth. I'm defending the truth. Now, as soon as I find some evidence that, no, you're not defending the truth, you're defending some preconceived notions of what the truth should be, or what you want the truth to be, or some other kind of bullshit. And that's a problem. I've been perfectly honest in how I got into this conversation. I got into the conversation because what I heard from physicists didn't sound anything like a truth. And then on inspection, I started scratching at it. Okay, and the more you scratch at it, the more the facade that they have any fucking continuity to this crap, and this crap has anything to do with finding the truth. No, it has to do with they decided to be wavicalists. Alright, and it is a fucking religion. Okay, it is. And it's the religion of let's make it all mysterious and wooey, and it all has magical properties, because they didn't want a mechanical, deterministic, a cold cause and effect universe. They wanted to put some woo in it to make us special, so they couldn't say we're just fucking asshole robots. Clearly theirs is the agenda, and I'm here defending the fucking truth.
The two-slit experiment. My position on the two-slit experiment is, of course the two-slit experiment's been done.
Right. So you think that was an honest statement by Pirro. He just honestly forgot to say, oh yeah, no, I'm not accusing you of saying the two-slit experiment didn't happen. That's right. The part you're arguing about is whether they ever made photon detectors or electron detectors. Okay. So you're saying that somehow that's an honest corruption out of Pirro's fucking idiotic mouth. That somehow he just honestly forgot to point out that the argument is about a very specific thing, not this general thing. That our denial has nothing to do with the general thing. We're not saying cars don't exist. We're saying the magic flying car that went to Mars doesn't exist. Well, maybe that wacky guy sent a car to Mars, but that doesn't count.
It's done easily, all the time.
Yes, there's images of the double slit experiment. There's hundreds of them. And then there's images of the single slit with tons of little bars that Pirro is denying exist, okay, where the pattern has 40 or 50 little bars in it from a single slit. These are the facts he keeps belligerently denying the existence of. And yet you're giving him a defense. You're somehow saying that's okay. That's perfectly good lawyer behavior here. And Mendham has no right to be profoundly offended by these belligerent, inconsistent, and constant lies coming out of Pirro's fucking deceptive, two-faced, shyster bullshit. Again, this is such an obvious example. He says, you're denying the double slit experiment. You think that was just an honest mistake? No, that's part of his lying rhetoric. That's his whole plan. Okay, he relies on the fact that he says these general statements that have nothing to do with a specific argument. That's his politics. That's the whole way he defends everything he does, is basically to misparaphrase the opposition, to lie about what they say.
In universities, colleges, high schools, Mendham himself has done it many times.
And I came up with a couple of new ways to do it, actually. Should I draw it? Maybe it's safer if I draw it. Let's see if I can safely get to a drawing program here. Oh, that was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I just had to hit the button almost. But I don't have a piece of paper ready. Alright, so the issue. Okay. So one of them is so dirt simple that I'm embarrassed that I didn't think of this earlier to say. I probably did mention, frankly, years ago, but I just never got around to seeing if we could get somebody to actually do it with precise equipment. But no, it would be interesting. Okay, so you have this stupid two slits, right? Two openings. Boy, that camera is way off of correct. Jesus, I have to turn the paper this way? How did it get so screwed up? How did my camera get this whacked? Alright, maybe that'll work. If I can get it in the picture. Oh, that's exactly 90 degrees off of how I drew it. So how do I fix that? Let's It's 90 degrees off. That means I just turned this way. That should fix it. Oh, it still didn't fix it. Son of a bitch. How could it be that far off? Amazes me. Okay. So I have to turn the camera 180 degrees? Fuck this. This is going to be a terrible waste of my time. Terrible waste of your time. Alright. So that's approximately correct, except now the microphone's in the way and everything else is in the way. Alright, sorry for the less than perfect technical details. So you have these two slits, two openings in a material. What they should do is put a flat surface right behind them, you know, a detector, and then move the slit, move the detector slowly, and see when the pattern shows up. Right? That would be interesting, because we know when it's right against it, we're going to know exactly what slit the photons hit, right? I mean, there's not going to be any confusion about what slit got hit by what photons. And if you do it this way, then you can measure the intensity of the light also. So you'll know what the intensity is when the detector is right up against the slit. You know, it'd be best if they use photographic film. And then at what distance do you start getting the pattern? You know, that would be kind of good information. Alright, so the other experiment I thought of to dissect this bullshit is a mirror. Alright, this is just too simple. I said, why didn't I think of this before? Okay, so you shine laser beam into a 45-degree pointed, you know, so it's both pointing towards the slits. So here's your slits, here's your impediment, impediment. And you just shine the laser beam, you know, off the point here. Any light that goes over will just disappear, so it won't be irrelevant. And so you just reflect the light into the slits, so you'll know exactly what slit the light went through. And you could use like a red laser on this side and a green laser over here. And you could do all kinds of, then you could use a single laser by just, you know, bouncing the same beam, splitting it and bouncing it in. Just in case phase could make a difference, and you could do the experiment and see if phase makes a difference, distance makes a difference. You could test all kinds of things, and and you're guaranteed that one beam goes through one slit, and one beam substantially goes through the other slit, and then you could see if you can make these photons interfere with each other. So that's a doable experiment. I mean, maybe I can even do that one if I can make a decent pointy mirror. It has to be really pointy. So you have to use like pieces of sheet metal. You know, mirrored metal, so you can make a really fine point. So anyway, yeah. So always thinking, you know, always on the job, doing my job, okay? Where these other loafers just talk shit.
The two-slit experiment is the simple two-slit experiment. What is not so clear is the precise details, and because you see it's done, you know the precise details of how it's most easily.
Right. So, and this is only one of the details, is this nonsense story about the detectors and unplugging detectors, right? So that's one detail. The other details they don't even pay any attention to. They just say, oh, look, when the detector's on, it made a clump, right? So that's another detail where I've just pointed out how, well, no, if the detector's on, it's going to make it more divergent. It's going to make it spread more, not spread less. So that doesn't even make sense. And then you get into all the other points that I've brought up about how the math doesn't fit the photon experiment because it's not light, dark, gradually in a sinusoidal wave pattern. I pointed out the image problem where, you know, the round dots, when it's round dots, it's sort of an indication that the laser beam wasn't bigger than the two slits, and therefore you're getting an image move to the different locations. And the fact that it's an image moving to the different locations doesn't fit interference, doesn't fit randomness. Now, can't we agree that if the laser beam is creating an image at the different locations, that clearly breaks this idea of wave interference, and it clearly breaks Feynman's notion that it doesn't matter where the photon goes in, it's always random out. Right? That totally breaks that nonsense, because clearly to preserve the image, the same location has to always produce, you know, it's doing the to each location thing. Every location.
Easily done the two-slit experiment, and that is with light, right? So that it's beyond question that that's done.
Right. So he just accused us of something completely fraudulent, and you're saying he did it honestly. And so I just, that begs credulity. What, you think I'm an idiot? You think he can't figure out the subtle distinction between detecting photons and the two-slit experiment? He's too stupid to figure that out when we've made it overt and we've said it overtly and we've been saying it for 5 fucking years, and you're saying that even after 5 years he can't get the distinction correct? And I'm supposed to think you have any credibility in this courtroom with that nonsense? You just laid a big fat turd of a statement that, oh, that's just Pirro's harmless distortion of reality. Aren't distortions of reality okay in court? Fuck.
In the literature, in the papers, somebody's talking about these advanced concepts of the two-slit experiment. It's referenced as the which-way experiment.
All right, so this is annoying because Hathaway keeps doing this. So he said, oh, you shouldn't interrupt. No, well, I'm just pointing out, as soon as you say which way, I go which way, okay? And we're no longer in agreement. This isn't about which way experiments, okay? Those experiments now are about entanglement. So I have absolutely no interest in which way experiments, okay? That's just horseshit entanglement now. I just want to know, they claim they detected photons, okay, at the slit. That's the experiment I want evidence of. I don't give a shit about this which way entanglement horseshit.
The which way confirmation experiments, all right? Now,
so I think you're off the subject now, frankly. I'm just saying it's my impression that as soon as you say which way, now we've just opened the door to experiments that have 48 mirrors, 17 black boxes, they have crystals instead of slits. The whole thing is completely different. So I have no interest in which way experiments.
well, I commend them, because, like you, incredulously, I thought all I have to do is shut this motherfucker up, is show him the fucking experiment. Yeah? And then so I invite you to shut both of us up, and then I say that it's not so easy to get a hold of the which way experiment data.
Again, just don't call it that, because there's plenty of which way experiments that don't have anything to do with detecting which slit something went through. So it's just wrong to sit there and bring that subject up. That's not what Jim Al-Kahali stated. Okay, what he stated is we put detectors on and then we unplug detectors. So let's stick to his lie, not talk about entanglement lies. That's a whole nother subject of a pile of lies. I'll be back. Alright, leave us continue and such.
And to that extent, I suspend that I believe I'm not as skeptical as in Mendham.
Okay, I'm not as skeptical. There's no subject here to be skeptical or not skeptical about. It's either a fact or it's not a fact. Now, we're honest brokers. We went out looking for the experiment. We can't find it. Yet, it's something they keep talking about. Again, the #1 viewed video on physics on the internet, Dr. Quantum, this idiotic cartoon, says all kinds of things, implying that the photon can read our minds, and it goes into even further a bigger lie. And clearly all these physicists think that lie is the truth. And that's a catastrophic flaw. This isn't about being skeptical. It's about recognizing that if they can't get their foundation experiments correct, right? These are the simplest experiments in physics, right? You don't need a nuclear accelerator, nothing complex. These are dirt simple experiments, been around since Isaac Newton, all right? And here they are building this whole frickin' like we have this solid foundation for our quantum mechanics, and it's based on their complete misinterpretation of the actual facts regarding this experiment. And you don't see that as a fucking problem. I'm just a little skeptical. It's, I know what, I'm supposed to do something other but then mockingly laugh? That's laughable. Your standards are as bad as Pirro's.
That when we now talk about the which way experiment, I believe the way the lay explanation develops.
Again, this lay explanation horseshit, I've already discussed this. So again, see, another trigger. He's pretending that there's some kind of thing called lay physics and real physics. Like there's lay philosophy and real philosophy or so. No, there isn't. There's honest and there's dishonest. That's a clear categories. We clearly can see what categories this shit fits into. There's the scientific method, which is cautious and well-disciplined. Clearly, none of that's taking place here. There's no caution or discipline in their jumping to conclusions. They name particles based on the scantest amount of evidence for their existence. We clearly see that. So, I mean, these are real categories. You can put these people in, and you can say that this is incredible physics. It's not credible physics. It's incredible physics. It's uncredible physics. And the fact that you won't say those words is just lame on your part.
The basic two-slit experiment to convey the features of what quantum mechanics predicts.
So even this whole idea that quantum mechanics predicts something, no, quantum mechanics merely states that there's a likelihood of deflections. That's all it is, right? I mean, Newton's glass, the two-slit, you can go through every one of these wavicle type experiments, these interference experiments, the foundation of quantum mechanics, and what is it really all about? Oh, it's really just about the fact that you create a pattern, the simplest pattern in the universe, all right, and that you don't need any magical explanations for a pattern that frickin' simple. But you'll keep pretending that somehow this makes some kind of sense or something, that or they predicted something, when clearly they don't predict anything. They watch it happen. They see it happen over and over again, like the sunrise, and then you're saying they predicted tomorrow's sunrise. They predicted the sun will rise tomorrow. It's amazing. Well, yeah, they saw it happen. This whole conversation is so full of dishonest jargon. The stupid word prediction, like quantum mechanics predicts something. What does it fucking predict? Except what we can all observe to happen over and over again consistently. Yes, every time you do the two-slit experiment, you'll get the pattern. Yeah, it works every time. That's not a prediction.
Developing into and animating a which-way experiment, that way of doing a which-way experiment may not have been done. I can't find it. What I genuinely believe is that...
Okay, so he concedes he can't find the experiment they describe as taking place. All right, and now he's going to make, what, some kind of excuse? There's no excuse. The experiment doesn't exist. It was never done. It's just something they thought about it, and they said, well, we thought about it. Isn't that just as good?
Other experiments which test the character of that which-wayness.
Okay, so again, no, there's no other experiments that are doing the character of the which-wayness. No, they're doing the character of entanglement or some other crap. So, again, you're confusing two different things. This isn't a subject, isn't entanglement. The subject is, what do single photons do when they go into the double slit? And the whole point of detecting them is to figure out whether they go through both slits. That's the whole point of the detection, is just to figure out, well, do they really go through both slits?
Idea, an experiment, have been done, but similarly, I can't find the technical details of them, but I'm loath to. This is from just following the history.
Is there any point in you playing this game that the most foundational experiment in physics, the simplest experiment in physics, in quantum mechanics, and they make this claim over and over and over again? As I've played the videos, I've shown you them saying it over and over again. Keep pretending that, oh, they cover one of the slits and it just makes a lump. The complete misdescription of the reality. Always pointing out that somehow the single slit only creates these three little humps. The constant manipulation of the evidence to present it in one single way, to distort, to pretend all the other evidence doesn't exist and just present their evidence in this little way. the manipulation is clear. And for you to play this game like, well, I can't be sure. Like, this shouldn't be all over the place. If this was a real experiment, it should be all over the place somewhere. It's a foundational experiment. There should be like a name of a person, like the Young experiment. Well, we should have a name on this person who made the fancy photon detector.
And detailing of the history of quantum mechanics and stuff. That I'm happy enough that enough people are writing about these things with such force. An experimentalist, the experimentalist, oh, he's got a big beard, hasn't he? I forgot his name, but he's not. He's a key experimentalist in the world. Not so much a theoretical guy, but he's. I think he's done the. He was the guy who's done it over Ireland's. Yeah, the statistical count, I think.
Yeah, entanglement. So again, it's a completely different subject. Really, what's the point of mixing these apples and oranges? We're talking about the origins of quantum mechanics. The origins of quantum mechanics didn't have anything to do with entanglement. I mean, it was a periphery subject at that time.
And maybe even he's done the quantum eraser experiments as well. But anyway, so that's my position on the which way, right? No, so there's nothing flat earth about.
Well, the eraser experiment is, again, just another polarization experiment. Most of the polarization detectors, again, the polarization is being used to create this entanglement phenomenon. And clearly, as I pointed out, they haven't even proven how a polarizer works and whether it does, in fact, change the photons that go through it. They haven't demonstrated any of that foundational information. They just make assumptions. And again, that's okay with you. We don't have to have the details. We don't have to have evidence that it works that way. You just tell us it works that way. You just tell us that solar masses disintegrate and turn into bent space. Yeah, just tell us that it happens. We don't need to understand why it would happen or how physically that makes any sense. And, you know, we certainly shouldn't be told that, well, doesn't that seem pretty convenient, you know, that you create this new kind of physics just so you can listen to one black hole collision per year. Just happens to be just one a year. Just, isn't that nice? A nice one a year average.
But it's just a point of skepticism. So I am sympathetic to Mendham's objections here,
and you're also sympathetic to all kinds of excuse making for regular physics. Then they can do lay physics, and it doesn't have to be the truth. They can just lie to kids, and they can lie to adults, and lie to the ignorant. It's okay. That's part of the fun. Lying.
DraftScience's objections. I don't really...
No, I mean, if this is what you call sympathy, okay, your denial of the existence of a thing called weak evidence, your denial that when they keep making the same misstatement over and over and over again about a foundational function, I mean, they keep saying it's made out of gold, and you keep pointing out how, no, it's just painted gold. There's no gold. It's just paint.
I want to seriously discuss with DraftScience any particular topic without having a paper to discuss.
So again, this is more nonsense. Most of the foundational physics, there are no papers to discuss. The whole idea of lensing theory, there's no frickin' paper to discuss where they explain how the lens is inverted. It's the wrong shape. There's more gravity towards the gravitational body than away from it. There's more bending close in than there is far away, which is the exact opposite of a magnifying lens, so you can't possibly do any magnification. Where's the paper written on that? There's no paper. There's no paper pointing out that Eddington wrote in his journal, I wouldn't stake my life on these results. There's no paper.
I don't see any value in that. And I'm beginning to wonder now. I've read a few papers myself, and they're almost like lay discussions.
No, they're worse. They're these fake discussions where they do an animation of the Stern Gerlach, and you can't even find a picture of somebody doing the experiment, let alone a video. You can't find anything, okay? Nothing. If they didn't do the experiment in 1959, under those whatever CPPC videos or whatever. If they didn't do it back then, you're out of luck. You'll never find it actually done in a laboratory anywhere, because nobody videotapes their experiments. Somehow the movie camera broke in 1959 and nobody could buy a new video camera because they can't possibly ever videotape an experiment.
When they say they've done something, there's no experimental setup in the paper. Yeah, there are bland statements saying, "Oh, we used a type 2321."
Right, and then there's little frickin' garbage little icon images. You know, somebody's the guy claiming that he did the Eddington experiment, right? He writes up this whole big paper, and he's got frickin' images that he doesn't even post his images. You're just like, what the fuck? Your whole experiment is based on the pictures you took, and you're not showing me the pictures you took? Holy shit.
You know, gigameter here and a proper, you know, Nohamian property defect.
Yeah, it's right. It's all a bunch of black boxes that can do magical things. This is my photon phase detector. You know, this is my create duplicate photon, brother and sister photon, or the twin photon maker. This is my, you know, yeah, it's just a bunch of boxes that do all these special magical things.
Fibrillator for this part and blah blah blah, but no nuances for the whole thing. Yeah, and I half wonder whether, you know, that's part of the point. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's all of the point. The point is that there are engineering experiments. I pointed it out with the radar experiment. Why is the audio tone on the experiment? Why? When they could do the thing honestly and just detect the energy of the signal.
Whether they keep this information, because I mean, do they really? Does IBM, Microsoft, Google, Stanford, whoever are experimenting on quantum computing, do they really give out all the explanations of the quantum computing developments?
Well, yeah, well, that's a whole nother thing, but that's some sort of space race, so they got to keep it all a secret. But clearly, the whole thing is idiotic. The whole premise is idiotic. We don't have to do 2 + 2. We can just jump to 4. I mean, it's stupid. The whole fucking argument is stupid. We can just jump to the future where they have the answer, and we don't have to do any of the math. It's a retarded concept on its face. It's all just woo.
When patent and money is so heavily invested in it, it's like, we'll tell them what we've discovered, but we're not giving that level of concrete details. You have to go and make the experiment yourself, you know, and make an experiment which says we're lying otherwise, yeah, and totally disprove and say, hang on, we've verified the opposite, yeah. So when they write they've verified something, you don't get that level of detail. Now, I think with some of these historic things...
And well, look, and what detail, and again, isn't that the whole problem with this idea of peer review, right? Because if all the peers are in the same club, is that peer review? I mean, the Catholic Church peer reviewing evolution theory, does it make any sense? No, it doesn't make any sense at all. So clearly they're all in this club, and to say, well, peer review means something, well, what does it mean? It's Trump deciding whether his daughter is a compulsive liar. I mean, what is the point?
I've read, and I'll come across the information, the idea that one university can get that information. For example, when the great room temperature fusion controversy emerged, there were people writing about and sharing the so-called exact experimental setups, and nobody was verifying it. Or some said this.
Well, this is how bad the system is, right? I mean, remember when that arsenic life thing popped up? I mean, within 13 minutes of me, I was making a video within 13 minutes of the announcement pointing out how this is garbage physics. It's garbage science. All right? Because it had it written all over it. You could tell from the paper, yeah, it's just complete garbage. Why was it published? NASA Nobody at NASA could figure out that they just forced the organism to become arsenic tolerant. Yeah, that's all they did. They put it in a bucket and slowly kept poisoning it until, oh, it almost died, it almost died, it almost died. All they did was how you ruin penicillin. It's the same argument. It's exactly the same thing. They just made a microbe that could tolerate arsenic by keep exposing it to more and more arsenic. Duh! I mean, it was so obviously bad science. And the fact that it ever made a headline, why should it have ever gotten that far? So again, what does peer review mean if not only did NASA not have any internal mechanism to prevent the announcement of that garbage science, but then the science publications also jumped on it like it was real science? Why? Because NASA published it. Not because they read the paper. No, I mean, again, and you're just accepting all of these huge flaws. These are gigantic flaws in the scientific method. These are catastrophic to good detective work, and you're not paying any attention. You're just saying, oh, well, that these are respected scientists, and they're busy people, and they have to do talk shows, and they don't really have time to pay any attention to the fucking facts. Fuck you.
We saw effects, but that went away. So, where there are issues of patents and money, I think universities and departments will share those exact details. But I don't think they'll share them with us, and I don't think they're shared in the papers. Now, I'd love to be corrected on all this, and I'd love to discuss some of these papers, and I'd love for you to shut.
Yeah, so again, it just doesn't matter because none of them are doing any of this elemental physics. So none of the universities, none of them are getting paid to do the foundational physics and to see if any of these conclusions were correct. Again, we had the most perfect eclipse possible. I mean, you just couldn't diagram a simulation of an eclipse that was any better than the fucking eclipse 2 years ago. And no frickin' intellectual institution, no physics-minded body, no one did the fucking experiment. Even though it was the 100th year anniversary of both Einstein and the experiment, the New York Times headline, Einstein right, even though it was whatever, 99th year anniversary, and nobody did the experiment. And you say, that's okay. Yes, that's the way physics should work. Clearly, they're pointed in a complete phantasmagorical direction. They don't give a shit about any of this elemental physics. They have made their silly assumptions like Pyrrho. They have evidence. There's a big pile of it in a drawer somewhere. We have a big pile of evidence in our drawer. You know, and that's all it is. It's just made up simulations. We thought experimented all the evidence. We have all this thought experiment evidence where they detected the photon and they unplugged the detector. Yeah, right. Sure they did. So, I mean, the fact that you just can't call liar, that you can't just say this is fake physics, it is for the purpose of propaganda, it is because they have chosen, okay, not predicted the truth, they have chosen a truth. And they're forcing the evidence to conform to their theory. Just like a flat earther ignores all the evidence against and he just points to the few. We have a PhD, we have a Nobel Prize winning physicist who says the earth is flat, therefore the earth is flat. Well, ignore the fact that every other Nobel Prize winner says no. You know, it's just fuck the truth, distort the perception of the evidence, to do propaganda. That's all it is. It's propaganda physics. It isn't real. It doesn't have any integrity. It doesn't give a shit about the scientific method, and it doesn't give a shit about the truth. And the fact that you can't acknowledge that that's exactly what's taking place, it's just politics, and it's disgusting and dirty politics. It has nothing to do with anything honorable taking place. They have no honor. They're shameless showmen. They're shamelessly greedy. And they're shamelessly ignorant. Of their own physics. It's like a bunch of quack snake oil salesmen taking over the medical industrial complex. Oh, I guess that's already happened. Yeah, my mistake, right? You know, a bunch of, well, I've cured cancer with, bubble gum. It's really getting that bad. I mean, everything is getting corrupted by these shysters and liars and crooks. And even the simplest truth can't be defended by anybody. All you people are deaf. Again, solar panels on roofs just destroy half the value of the solar panel. To turn a 40-watt panel into a 20-watt panel, just paint half of it black. And that's somehow logical. No, that's insane. It's a stupid waste. It shouldn't happen in a rational society. And the reason why it keeps staying irrational is because you wishy-washy mealy-mouths can't sit there and call a liar a liar. Can't call a distorter a distorter. Why? Because you're guilty of it yourself. Shit. Enough. If I haven't stated it before, I hate this